28. Henry? Anna poked at his shoulder between the seats. He was sitting right in front of her in the first row so the flight attendant could finally say she was doing her job and keeping an eye on him. He didn't answer. She peeked between the seats. He was jabbing his thumbs at his super game prism. Henry! The video game beeped. Aw, man, you made me die. Henry whirled around. Can't a guy relax a little? Sorry, it's just, I never got to talk to you again about your aunt with the bracelet and everything. Yeah? Well, now that we know a little more about the society, don't you want to ask her about it? You must want to know who you're related to, right? I guess. He shrugged and turned back to his game. Anna frowned. Now that the excitement was over, he was acting like the old Henry, the one who's all grumpy about his electrical outlet. She poked him again. What's wrong? Aren't you happy to be going home? Henry turned. Home is going to be a little different when I get there, and in a few months, I'm moving away. Oh. She had forgotten about his dad's wedding and his move to Boston. Coming back to a house with a new stepmom was probably enough family drama without worrying about which ancestor left you in charge of his or her artifacts. Before this week, Anna had imagined her mother's Silver Jaguar Society trips more as secret meetings in ballrooms than anything truly dangerous. Now she knew better, but she still wanted to know more. Dad? Anna leaned across the aisle and rustled his newspaper. She decided to go for it. Seeing as how I'm pretty much a member of the Silver Jaguar Society now, I was wondering, what? He put down his paper and stared at her. Well, you know, since it was Henry and Jose and I who took care of things for the society in D.C. Their families are involved too. There were no other members except Snake Arm, the baggage guy, so... Her father tipped his head. Snake Arm, the baggage guy? Well, he's not just a baggage guy. He runs Pickers Guild Diner too, but he has a Jaguar in his ring. You know, Mom's Jaguar. And he told us he was working for the flag. He's part of the society. And I figured now that Henry and Jose and I, you know, solved the whole thing, well... Her father looked up at the little airplane reading lights over their seats and shook his head. I figure now we can officially be in the society too, Anna finished in a quiet voice. That, her father said, is not happening. He shook his head. If you have questions, talk to your mother. This is her territory. He went back to his newspaper. Anna sighed, leaned against the window, and watched the bumpy clouds fly past below until the plane finally sank into them and came out the bottom, and she could see the Green Mountains and the lake and home. Mom! Mrs. Revere Hobbs was waiting along with her news crew. Though the story had ended up with a whole lot different from the one Senator Snickerbottom had promised. Give me a minute. Mrs. Revere Hobbs waved her news cameras off to the side and gave Anna a huge hug. I am so glad you're home. She kissed Anna on the head and leaned over to hug her husband. I missed you guys. Missed you too, Molly. He gave her a quick kiss on the cheek and then whispered into her ear, loud enough for Anna to hear, but out of range of the cameras. She met one of your Silver Jaguar friends, guy from the diner? Mrs. Revere Hobbs pulled back and looked at Anna with wide eyes. You met Claude? I guess, Anna said. We called him Snake Arm. He was nice once we figured out he was on our side. Anna took a deep breath. Mom, listen, I know you said I wouldn't be involved in the society until I was older, but it's kind of too late for that now. Her mom crossed her arms. Really? Because we totally caught the bad guys. So I was thinking... Anna looked up at the ceiling. You do such important work with the news and the Silver Jaguar Society, and you have your homework and your school newspaper, Anna. You're 12. 12. Don't be in a hurry to grow up. I am in a hurry. Anna didn't mean to raise her voice, but it all came glugging out like that shampoo back in the baggage room. I can't help it. I want to do something. Something more important than a school newspaper. And I did, Mom. We did. Henry and Jose and me. These are the kids you told me about on the phone, whose families are also in the society? Her mother blinked, then looked at her dad. Can you explain some of this? Where were you all this time? Oh, he was right there watching me, Anna assured her mother, except for when we went to get lunch and sneaked down to the baggage rooms. Thanks, her father said to Anna. Thanks a lot. He turned to her mom. Molly, it's been a busy couple of days. They stepped off to the side, whispering, and left Anna to watch the crowds past. Her dad pointed toward Jose and his father, over by the baggage carousel, and to Henry and his dad hugging next to the car rental place. All right, her mother said when she came back. That's some story. She took a deep breath. I'm not sure what else there is to say. You already know our family is part of the Silver Jaguar Society, Anna, that we're bound by our lineage to protect the world's artifacts, and you're part of the society. You said I couldn't be in it yet. Not until you're 18. That's how it works. Yeah, but, Anna, let me finish. I understand that you and your friends were incredibly brave, but you were also incredibly foolish. The kinds of people we deal with play for keeps. She swallowed hard. They're dangerous. Like the Serpentine Princes? Anna asked. Her mother nodded. Even though it turns out they weren't involved this time, they're always out there, and others like them. Anna pictured her mother in her news anchor suit and silver necklace, facing down the man with the snake neck tattoo from the mugshot. All those times, all those trips she's taken over the years, she was dealing with guys like that? It sounded too much like one of Henry's video games. Where were Henry and Jose? She wanted to say goodbye. Anna? Her mother brought her attention back with a hand on her shoulder. This whole thing is like that National Treasure movie or something. Her mother sighed. It feels that way sometimes. Only it's real. And you're right. You do need to know more. They know about us. The world's art thieves and illicit treasure hunters know our group exists, and I know, Mom, because Vincent Goosen used to be part of the society. Jose's dad told us, but he said I had to ask you if I wanted to know more. So what happened? Why did he leave? She wanted to say, and join the dark side, but then it would really sound too much like a movie. And start stealing art instead of protecting it. Didn't he care? Mrs. Revere Hobbs stared at Anna as if she weren't quite sure who she was looking at anymore. Finally, she said, he didn't care, and still cares about art very much. He loves it perhaps more than anyone I've ever known. And 10 years ago, Vince was one of our bravest, most dedicated members. What happened? Mrs. Revere Hobbs shook her head. He volunteered almost every hour of his life, went on more and more dangerous missions until it consumed him. And then somehow protecting the artifacts, saving them, wasn't enough. He wanted to possess them. So he started stealing art instead of protecting it? He did, and he's very good at it, and very dangerous. As I said, he knows who we are. Anna's mom put both hands on her shoulders and held her gaze. And since you were involved in the recovery of the flag, he'll know about you now too. They all will. They? Anna thought about Vincent Goosen, about Snickerbottom being let off in handcuffs, and she imagined a whole bunch more of them. She took a shuddering breath. So Paul Revere got us into all this, huh? Good old Paul. Never could mind his own business. Her mother nodded, and the light caught her necklace. How come it's a jaguar? Anna asked suddenly. The society started hundreds of years ago in Central America by those who wanted to protect treasures from the conquistadors. It was originally named for Excel, the Mayan goddess of creativity, among other things. Her symbol is a jaguar. Over the years, people forgot about the goddess and just remembered the jaguar part. Anna's mother lifted the pendant from her neck, and Anna stared at its smooth lines. It was just like the jaguar in Snake Arm's ring. That reminded her. So, Claude Pickersgill is related to who? Did you get a walk through the flag exhibit at the museum? Anna nodded. Remember the portrait of the lady next to the punch bowl? Anna nodded again. She was all strict looking. That's Mary Pickersgill, her mother said, the Baltimore streamstress who sewed the flag. Claude is her great-great-great-grandson. He is extremely committed to the flag, to the whole society, but to the flag in particular. Anna's head was spinning. Her father was lugging his suitcase off the baggage carousel. The crowd was starting to thin. She spotted Jose with his dad and Henry in the corner, huddled in serious conversation with a stocky man who looked like an older, taller Henry. A tall woman stood off to the side with their bags. So, wait. Anna thought about Henry's aunt and her necklace. Do you know all the other members? Not all, but some. We're just called when we're needed. Sometimes to meet while we're traveling. Anna thought back to the electrical outlet at Gate Beat 16. They'd met while traveling, all right. Mom, Jose's family is related to the artist Frida Kahlo and to some of the founders from Central America, he said. society too. Do you know her? Do you know who they're related to? Her mother looked up and smiled a little. You should probably ask Henry that question. Henry was headed their way along with his dad. The woman must be his stepmom, Jose, and his father, and Anna's dad. They were pulling suitcases and the baggage carousel spun around behind them, empty except for that one smelly green duffel bag. Jose and Henry walked up to Anna, leaving the parents to talk on their own. Anna was so full of wondering, she didn't know what to ask first. Henry broke the silence. Dude, this has been one weird day. And that made all of them laugh. Anna looked over toward the luggage carousel where the moms and dads were shaking hands, introducing themselves as if they were getting kids together for a play date or something. That's lame, Henry said. What's lame? Anna frowned. They need a secret handshake or something. The society should have, I don't know, some cooler way for members to meet. We should work on that, Jose said. Henry nodded. Anna hesitated, but figured it would be her last chance to ask. Did you find out who you're related to, Henry? Yeah, Grace Wisher. She sewed the flag, I guess. Wasn't that Mary Pickersgill? Anna said. She's Snake Arm's ancestor. Jose snapped his fingers. Yeah, but the guy at the museum said that there was an indentured servant who worked with her. Grace Wisher. Henry nodded. From what my dad was telling me, Grace Wisher sounds pretty cool. She and her mom were freed slaves. He smiled a little. You know, she ought to have her portrait in the museum too, instead of Mary getting all the credit. You should write a letter to the Smithsonian, Anna said. I'll help if you want. Thanks, Henry nodded. I might do that. It turns out my mom was in the society with Aunt Lucinda too. Dad says Mom felt a real connection to this Wisher lady. She was all proud of her. He bit his lip a little. So I figure if they ever need me for the Silver Jaguar Society, I'm in. Anna nodded. Me too. And you know what I think? But before she could say what she thought, two giant paws thumped on her back and almost knocked her to her knees. Hammurabi! She squealed. He licked her cheek as if it were covered in pizza sauce. Sorry, Sinan said, tugging on Hammurabi's collar. He was caged up so long that he is happy to be tasting his freedom, I think you would say. He flipped open his sketch pad. I wanted to say thank you, Sinan said, holding Hammurabi's collar. You did a great kindness for my family and our friends. He hugged Anna, then Jose, then Henry, whose eyes were starting to water. Ah, shoot, Henry said, swiping his eyes with his sweatshirt sleeve. It was nothing. Turns out it's our job anyway. Sinan, we must catch our bus. His parents were waving from near the door along with the other musicians. Thank you, Sinan said again. You were all the bee's knees, Anna said. How about the bomb? Henry asked. I think we're the cream of the crop, Jose said, waving to Sinan as he ran off. That should give him plenty to draw on the bus ride. Anna watched as Sinan took his mother's hand and left the airport with Hammurabi trotting along beside him. Anna knew she should say goodbye to Henry and Jose, but how did you say goodbye after something like this? There was no secret handshake after all. Well, she said, it sure would be great to see you guys again. About that, Anna felt a hand on her shoulder. Her mom and the other parents had come over from the baggage carousel. Here's the thing, Henry's dad said, putting an arm around his son. We parents have been talking, and we think it would be a crime for the three of you not to keep in touch. Does that mean we get to be in the society now and come with you on trips and hunt down the Serpentine princes and everything? Anna bounced a little. We'll be Silver Jaguars together! Not exactly, her mother said, smiling a little. But you may get to come on a trip now and then, sort of as apprentices. Not something we do lightly. But historically, there have been a few other situations where kids under 18 have become involved in cases for reasons beyond our control. So the society came up with a special designation for that group of underage members. Members! Anna squealed, we're members! You're junior members, her mother said. You still won't be full members until you're 18. I don't care what we're called as long as we get to do something. Anna bounced on her toes until her mom gave her the look. You're not going to be chasing down art thieves on stolen airport carts. You heard about that, huh? It came in a news update at work. Her mother smiled a little. Anyway, being a junior member of the society is not going to put you in danger. In fact, it's the opposite. Now that you've been involved, you'll need to know more about how we work. Her face grew more serious. And how to be safe now that they know who you are. No missions then? Jose asked. decide if he sounded relieved or disappointed. No missions for you. However, if things come up and we're called to help, and if there's a safe place for you to stay, you might be able to come along now and then. Well, that's a start. Anna leaned into her mom for a hug, and pretty soon Jose and Henry's dads had their arms wrapped around their kids too. You know, Anna said, this whole thing still feels like a movie or something. You know what it feels like? Jose waved his Harry Potter book in the air. It's like when Harry finds out that he's really a wizard and Voldemort's after him, and he has all these new powers to fight him. Only I don't think we get new powers, Anna said. If we were playing intergalactic treasure hunters right now, is when the game would ding to tell us we found a new cache of weapons. Henry looked around the empty baggage area as if he was waiting for weapons to appear. But just the one duffel bag kept riding around and around, and it wasn't full of anything particularly powerful, unless you counted smelly socks. Sorry to disappoint you, Anna's mother said, but there are no wands or weapon caches. Even when you turn 18, you won't get any special gifts, only extra responsibility. It kind of stinks, Henry said. That's kind of life, his dad said. Sometimes the world throws changes at you and you have to deal with it whether you feel ready or not. He had tears in his eyes and Anna wondered why until she remembered Henry's mom. Mr. Thorne must have felt as if the whole world was dropped on his shoulders when she died and he had to take care of Henry by himself. He wiped his eyes with the back of his sleeve. When something is your responsibility, you just do it, like you guys did back in D.C. Jose was nodding slowly. It's like Dumbledore says, he said finally, the universe does not give us situations that we are not equipped to handle. Yep, Henry said, and when you've got good friends to back you up, you can kick pretty much anybody's butt. Jose grinned. Is that another quote from Maldicio? Nah, I made that one up myself. Henry looked at his dad. Can we get cheeseburgers on the way home? His father nodded. You bet. Anna bit her lip. Her parents were waiting too. I do hope I see you guys again. She held out her hand to Jose. He shook it. Then she turned to Henry. Henry frowned. I still say we need a cool handshake. Anna laughed and gave him a light punch on the shoulder. How's that until you come up with something better? That's a start, Henry said. Till next time. Jose nodded. Until next time. Anna followed her parents out the automatic doors, pulling her suitcase behind her. Somehow it felt heavier than it had on the way here. Maybe she was tired from her long night at the airport, or maybe it was all that extra responsibility, the weight of a promise made by her ancestors that was hers to carry now.